And finally, love-hate for the quarterbacks here. And we start with Joe Burrow on that massive Sunday night matchup against the Bills here. For Barry, Burrow comes in as a top 5 quarterback, QB3 here, Jay. And Burrow last week started to look like the Joe Burrow we all know and love.
Yeah, most encouraging play of the entire season for Joe Burrow. He checked into a quarterback draw play. And when he checked into it, the left tackle was like, what do you mean? Because they hadn't done that all season because Joe Burrow hasn't been able to run. Now he can run. He looked very explosive. It seems like he's just all the way back. He's the guy who was drafted as the top 5 quarterback before the season.
Yeah, it's also, as we've talked about, it's the second highest implied team total this week. We expect a lot of scoring on both sides of the ball. Buffalo Bills have allowed 19 fantasy points to each of the last 2 quarterbacks they faced. Those quarterbacks' names, Baker Mayfield and Mac Jones. And now he's got a fully healthy Joe Burrow with a fully healthy T. Higgins and, of course, Jamar Chase as well. Last 3 weeks, he's averaging 21.6 fantasy points per game. Joe Burrow is my QB3 this week, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he's an investor in FantasyLife.com, but just out of, honesty with the audience, I just want to let everyone know that he does, in fact, invest.
It's a corporate thing.
I don't want people to think that I'm doing this because he's an investor in my free FantasyLife.com website.
Yeah, like Jamar Chase.
Correct. Jamar Chase is as well.
Yeah.
But again, I like him based on the merits of his play in the matchup.
Not on the love list, Jamar Chase. See him there.
Austin Eckler?
I do have him as a top 3.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
Very
Eckler's. No, I don't have Eckler on the love list either.
No,
but I do love him.
Maybe they should invest more.
I love him being on the cap table.
Next up, Tua Tagovailoa against the Chiefs in Germany. Tua comes in as QB6, and Barry, the total on this slate is at 51. That is the highest for the weekend right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, I think the Chiefs, we talked about this game yesterday, I think the Chiefs come out and I think they beat the Dolphins in this game, and I think they right a lot of the wrongs that they had last week, right? They're motivated. Well, Tua's going to have to throw to keep up with them. Like in games in which the Dolphins score more than 20 points, and that's what we expect them to do here, he's averaging over 21 fantasy points per game. Chiefs allow touchdown passes at the 6th highest rate in the NFL since week 4. So again, like Tyreek Hill, revenge game, all of this. I think it's going to be a very exciting game, and I just think they're not going to be able to just, run the ball and play slow down against the Chiefs.
All right, moving over to...
I don't see the Chiefs having 2 bad games in a row offensively.
Probably not.
The final one, Jay, Dak Prescott, who's coming off a great week against the Rams. Yes, he has the Eagles, but he comes in as QB7 because right now the Philadelphia secondary, as we've talked about this week, you could throw against them, and Dallas needs to face the facts they can't run the ball right now.
Yep, so you can't run the ball on the Eagles, but you can throw on them. And with Dallas, they can't run the ball, but they can throw it. So it just seems like a perfect recipe for Dak Prescott, who, by the way, past 2 weeks, or his past 2 performances at least, Dak's been the best quarterback in the NFL over that span. He's been an absolute monster against the Chargers and against the Rams, and I think that he'll be able to light up the Eagles in a shootout.
I don't know that he's been the best quarterback in the NFL, but I'll say this.
He's
played very well.
Yeah.
Past 2 weeks, he's played very, very well. Give the guy credit for as well. And it's not a matchup that scares you. Eagles, 3rd most touchdown passes allowed this season. Dak, by the way, he seems to have the Eagles number. He's had over 20 fantasy points each of the last 3 games against the Eagles dating back to 2021. Teams that face the Eagles average almost 40 pass attempts. I mean, Sam Howell, future Hall of Famer Sam Howell, was the number 1 quarterback in fantasy last week playing these Eagles. I think Dak is a better quarterback than Sam Howell.
I agree.
Others receiving votes, Sam Howell, Derek Carr, and C.J. Stroud here, Barry. They all hang right around QB 10. Howell at 9, Carr at 10, Stroud at 11.
Since week 4, Sam Howell is the 4th best quarterback in fantasy football. Like, they're just not running the ball. He's throwing it a ton. Over the past 4 weeks, New England ranks 32nd in pressure rate. So the one bugaboo, if you will, you heard me, bugaboo, to Sam Howell's game is all the sacks that he takes. The Patriots can't get after the pass rusher. So he should have a clean pocket for him. Didn't take a lot of sacks last week as well. I'm at QB 9. Derek Carr gets Chicago this week. Bears have allowed the 2nd most touchdown passes this season. They've allowed the 3rd most passing yards per game. Think about Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels, who fired him, got rid of him in Las Vegas, gets fired this week after being embarrassed on Monday Night Football, and now he gets to face the Bears. It's a pretty good week for Derek Carr, all things considered.
If Sam Howell's the 4th quarterback, since then, we may need to change the scoring in fantasy. We may need to change the scoring in how you keep getting points.
And we talked about this. We don't think the Texans can run, but C.J. Stroud can certainly throw. Past 4 weeks, Buccaneers allow 21.8 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks here. Let's go to the hate list really quickly.
2 make the hate list. Geno Smith and Daniel Jones. For Geno, I mean, he's had 5 straight games below 15 fantasy points, Jay. He is not the guy in fantasy that he was last year where he hung around being QB5.
He just hasn't been the guy he was since the first 5 weeks. weeks of last season where he was playing like an MVP candidate. Since then, he's looked more like kind of Geno Smith and the idea of what he was before last season. Baltimore might have the best defense in the NFL as well.
They're allowing the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, under 12 fantasy points per game. This game is in Baltimore, so they're having to travel there as well. He's QB 17 for me this week.
And the last one, Daniel Jones. He'll be running away from Max Crosby. Listen, not that the Raiders' defense scares you, but Jones has not been effective this year. Their line's getting healthier, but Crosby's a guy that wrecks the game.
You remember that second half against Arizona in Week 2 where they made that furious comeback and Daniel Jones looked great? Well, 56% of Daniel Jones' total fantasy points this year came in that one half. Otherwise, it's been brutal. 0 touchdown passes in 4 out of 5 starts so far this season. 5 of the 8 quarterbacks to face the Raiders have scored below 16 fantasy points. And while Jay was talking, literally just got an alert on my phone. Brian Daboll, it's official that Darren Waller is out for this week. So Jones has a tough matchup. He hasn't played well, and now his best offensive pass-catching weapon isn't going to be there. He's outside my top 20 this week, guys.
We're going to break one more time. When we're back, it's last call. We got our Thursday Night Football preview for Steelers-Titans coming right up.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.